Hey, it's Carla, your wellness rock star, and I just wanted to pop in here and share with you this story. I'm probably gonna remake this video and be all polished and professional, but I just needed to get some things off my heart. Well, I've been dealing with something. So I've been posting about having unexplained blood pressure spikes. Go to the doctor, and the doctor, this particular doctor, is this southern white woman, and she's just like, oh, you're a black female. Black females have high blood pressure. You know I'm not good with that. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, it's genetic. She's like, did your mom have high blood pressure? I'm like, yeah. He's like, is your mom still alive? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, tell me about your mom's high blood pressure. I said, well, it started when she was about 40. She's on 2 beta blockers. And she's like, see, your mom's on high blood pressure medicine, so we're going to put you on some too. And I'm just like, okay, but my mom has been smoking for 60 plus years, maybe 65 years at this point, still smokes. My mom does not exercise. My mom does not hardly eat any vegetables that she doesn't want to. And, no shade. I'm just saying, I'm plant-based. I exercise. I don't smoke. I drink occasionally. My mom was a heavy drinker all her life until recently. And so I'm like, but what about lifestyle? Like, that has nothing to do with it. She's like, apparently not. Your mom had it. You got it. Period. Point blank, period. And then I started to tell her, I said, well, I think it's hormone related. She's like, oh, blood pressure is not hormone related. And I'm like, okay, but this happened to me before. I said, I've always had low blood pressure, except in the case when I was pregnant and now. And I said, the common denominator is my hormones. So I have factor V Leiden, which is a blood clotting disorder. And my daughter was born. That's how I found out about it. I had a lot of problems. I had a pregnancy. It was called preeclampsia. I started having blood pressure problems, blood pressure spikes, very similar to what I've been experiencing recently, and didn't feel well. And come to find out, I had blood clots throughout my body. They were blocking up the placenta and the umbilical cord, so my daughter was not getting nutrition. Subsequently, she was born. She was only 14 ounces and only 10 inches long. And 14 ounces is not even a pound. And for y'all that don't know, 10 inches is about half the length of a baby. And most babies are like 20, 21 inches, and she was 10 inches. So she was really, really tiny, but proportion, but tiny. Was on all kinds of machines, stayed in the neonatal intensive care unit for 4 months. Yeah, she was 24 weeks, so they wanted her to finish her gestation, so she stayed in for 16 weeks and some days. Anyway, so that's when we found out that I have factor V Leiden. So when I go in and talk to the geneticist about factor V Leiden, or about really what happened at this point, I didn't know what. He was like, dang, you're black. I mean, what a way to greet somebody. But apparently he was physically, like, he showed his surprise in his face and his body language, like, you're black. And so apparently that was significant for him and for me. And my mom came, and I was like, and that's my mom. My mom looks pretty white. Well, she's very light, I should say. And so he was like, yeah, looking at your blood work, I thought you were white. I'm like, no, I'm black. And he says, yeah, you have factor V Leiden. And he says, it probably won't bother you. He's like, but except for when you're pregnant. He's like, but you're 36. You need to hurry up and get pregnant again so I can help you have your next baby. And I mean, Erica was still in the intensive care unit. I had just come out of it myself. I was like, another baby. And but I definitely wanted to have more children. So I just kind of filed that Factor 5 Litem in the back. And then later on, he helped me get through it through giving me blood thinners for all 10 months of my gestation with my youngest daughter, Kasha. And so I just had to get that out. And I'll come back and add to it and polish it up. But yeah, it's interesting. So, African Americans are the result of sex trafficking, Africans, and using them as free labor for centuries. So, why European doctors think that we wouldn't have some of the same diseases that white women have is just so perplexing to me. Do you know that they don't even test black women for Factor 5 Litem? And black women probably die from strokes and heart attacks and problems in child labor simply because we were never tested and we don't know we have a blood clot factor. So without that information, we get on birth control pills, which activate the clots. We smoke, which is very high risk. We have a baby, which is extremely high risk for people with Factor 5 Litem without any treatment. And we don't even know that we're putting ourselves at risk because they won't do a simple, almost negligible in cost test. Now, I don't know exactly how much the test is, but it's not worth a life. And I know it's old technology at this point. So I just had to get that off my chest.